Keep from By Design Optometry. We are an optometry clinic located in West Edmonton. We do provide routine comprehensive care for patients, but we also provide vision therapy in Edmonton. So we're going to spend a little bit of time today talking about a condition that can commonly cause issues called accommodative insufficiency. So we'll give you a little bit more information about what this condition is. Good vision is critical to be able to function adequately in the classroom or at work. So a lot of patients are under the impression that as long as they can see 20/20 and don't require glasses, that they won't have any issues with their visual system. But this is not the case. So there are other visual skills that are incredibly important to be able to effectively gather visual information, and accommodation is one of them. So accommodation is the ability to be able to focus your eyes. Now more than ever, this is an incredibly important skill. So we're spending so much time on the computer, and even children are spending so much time doing near work that if you're not able to accurately focus your eyes or sustain that focus, you will definitely end up having difficulties and experience symptoms.
So Sarah, can you tell us what accommodative insufficiencies is?
For sure. So accommodation is the ability to change the focus of your eyes. So when you look from a target far away to a target up close, your eyes have to adjust their focus so that that target is actually clear. So accommodative insufficiency can be the inability to accurately focus. So some patients they don't actually know how to bring their focus to the location of the target. So because of that, it appears to be blurry. Or it can also be an inability to sustain that focus. So, if you're reading or working on the computer, for instance, for a sustained amount of time, and you can't actually keep your eyes focused at that distance, your vision will go in and out of focus. So it's something that can definitely have a negative impact on a child who's trying to learn, or even an adult who is spending a lot of time working on the computer, for instance.
What are some of the symptoms of accommodative insufficiencies?
The symptoms are all associated with near work. So probably the biggest one is blurry vision. So obviously if you can't maintain focus, the target is not going to be clear. The words on the page won't be clear. This can also be intermittent blurry vision. So this is where you can clear the words on a page for a moment, but then they go in and out of focus. So for instance, if this is the way that you saw on a regular basis, you can imagine how challenging it would be to actually effectively understand the information you're trying to read. Some patients have difficulty adjusting their focus from various distances. So when they're switching focus from distance to near, they have difficulty actually doing that efficiently, and it takes a while before the image is clear. Other patients will experience headaches or eye strain associated with near work, and other patients don't complain of symptoms at all. They've just learned to avoid near tasks altogether. So just because your child doesn't complain of symptoms doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't experiencing symptoms. So it is always important to get your eyes checked and make sure that there aren't any concerns.
And how does accommodative disorder affect performance at school?
That's a great question. So as we showed in the example before, if images are actually going in and out of focus, or patients are unable to sustain focus, you can imagine that their attention and their comprehension is going to be dramatically reduced. So children oftentimes have difficulty, reading for extended periods of time. They'll avoid near work. They don't like near work. They have difficulty understanding what they've read. They might have to reread things a number of times before they'll actually get it. So when this is inefficient, certainly you can understand that this is not going to be as easy for a child to perform well in school when it takes such an effort to just gather the information that they're trying to understand.
And what should I do if I suspect my child does have accommodative issues?
So the best thing to do would be to get an eye exam and have their accommodation tested for specifically. So if you've had a routine eye exam before, just make sure that there was accommodative testing performed during that eye exam. And if there wasn't, then consider coming in and actually having a full visual efficiency evaluation done. So during this exam, we do a number of different tests where we test all of the visual skills and see if there's any deficiencies in things like accommodation, or also, eye teaming or eye tracking, or even visual perceptual skills, for instance. Basically, I like to tell patients, if you feel like there's an issue that hasn't been previously discovered, don't hesitate to have it re-examined because there could still potentially be a problem there.
What do you test for when you suspect a patient has accommodative insufficiency?
So typically what we would do is if I do a regular eye exam and we do some of the screener tests and it points to the fact that they are having issues with accommodation, then we do bring them back to do a more in-depth evaluation. So we obviously do testing to track to see, are they able to accommodate their eyes? If so, are they able to actually sustain that accommodation, or do they have inefficiencies in sustaining it? So we do a number of different accommodative tests. As I mentioned before, we also test other visual skills as well. So we want to make sure that if we're making treatment recommendations that they're going to improve all aspects of the visual system.
Right. And can adults have accommodative insufficiency?
Yeah, that's a good question. So you actually lose your ability to accommodate as you age. So a child, especially a young child, is going to have a significantly higher ability to accommodate their eyes than somebody in their 20s or their 30s or their 40s, for instance. In fact, throughout your 40s, you actually start to lose your ability to accommodate, and this is just a normal aging change. So this is called presbyopia. This is why people start to require reading glasses. This is not the same as accommodative insufficiency. So this is normal for their age. It's corrected by a reading prescription or bifocals or progressive lenses or contact lenses, for instance, and it's completely normal. So adults can have accommodative insufficiency though, however. So if we have somebody in their 20s or 30s or even in their early 40s, if they're not able to accommodate to a level that's normal for their age, then that's where we can actually go through and train them to improve that as a skill. So if I have a patient in their 20s or 30s and they spend a lot of time on the computer and it really is causing significant symptoms and it's from an inability to maintain that accommodation throughout the day, then we can go through and do vision therapy activities to teach them how to actually gain this as a skill, which does result in improved symptoms. Unfortunately for adults, in their 40s and 50s and 60s, once presbyopia has set in, we can't unfortunately correct that with vision therapy, so it does have to be corrected with glasses. Yeah.
How is accommodative insufficiency treated?
We would primarily want to do a vision therapy program for a patient with accommodative insufficiency. Again, this is providing the patients with the actual skills to be able to learn how to accommodate their eyes so that they can use those throughout their life. You can also treat accommodative insufficiency with lenses, so by prescribing a reading prescription. This can alleviate symptoms for patients, and sometimes this is the best option depending on what their time commitments are and if they're able to enter into a vision therapy program. However, it's like prescribing a crutch for a broken leg, for instance. It's not going to correct the issue, it just alleviates the symptoms. So if you actually wanted to improve your accommodative ability to alleviate symptoms, then a vision therapy program is what we would recommend for patients.
Okay. And what activities are involved in a vision therapy program for accommodative insufficiencies?
So we do a lot of activities that train them how to properly focus their eyes and how to effectively focus their eyes. Sometimes patients, you have to teach them how to notice the differences and how it feels to change their focusing system. We also incorporate activities for other visual skills as well. So we make sure, in addition to them becoming more efficient in focusing their eyes, we want them to become more efficient in tuning their eyes and tracking their eyes. For some patients, we'll do different gross body movement activities, make sure that they can integrate these skills all together as well, so they really translate into the real world.
Yeah. And how do I book an appointment if I'm interested in having my child assessed?
The best way to schedule an assessment is to give our office a call. The phone number is 780-444-6407. We typically will have our vision therapist coordinate the appointments for our visual efficiency evaluations. We don't unfortunately book these appointments on our website. However, we do take appointments online for just routine comprehensive exams. So if you wanted to book a regular eye exam, you can certainly head over there, but if you needed more in-depth evaluation for something like accommodative insufficiency, it does have to be booked directly at the office.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right, perfect. Thanks for joining us. I hope that gives everybody a little bit more information about a really common visual issue called accommodative insufficiency. If you feel like this is something that's bothering you or your child, don't hesitate to reach out if you'd like more information. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe to our page to get some more really great information on your eyes and your visual system. Thanks for joining us.